Hi, everybody. Welcome to my channel, Numbers with Nora. This is a math tutoring channel that helps you with all your math needs. This is going to be the third video I'm doing for geometry final practice review problems. Okay. Again, this is going to be off of the LCM2 S2 final study guide. All right. If you guys have the same study guide, you can follow along. If not, this is a really good practice you can do for your geometry final. Okay, so let's get into number 15. Choose a statement that can be shown to be true about the company logo below. Okay, so I have two triangles that are inside of a circle. What I know, since it's inside of a circle, if I sit there and draw this diameter right here, the middle of my circle acts like a midpoint. So it cuts these in two equal parts. Okay, and I can say the same for this side as well. Also, I know that these angles right here are congruent because they're vertical angles. So I can tell that these triangles are similar and they're congruent by side angle side. Okay. So the answer for this one's going to be C. Now for 16, select three statements that can be concluded from the diagram of the circle with the N. All right, let's just make some annotations on here first before we sit there and start crossing out which ones are wrong and which ones are right. So from our angle properties, I know that this angle right here is going to equal whatever angle lies inside of my arc. So this one's going to be 25 degrees. Okay. I also know that these are alternate interior angles, are alternate exterior angles, excuse me. So that's 25 degrees. I also know that this one, RAO, that's also going to be 25 degrees because of that arc property, my outside arc and its inside angle. Okay, so that's 25 degrees. Also, this whole half of a circle equals 180. So if I do 180 subtracted by 25 subtracted by 25, that's going to give me 130 degrees. Okay. What else can I mark up on here? I think that's about it for now. Let's go ahead and tackle some stuff. We'll go as we go. So I'll start from the bottom. So angle AS is equal to 25 degrees. That is true because we sat there and said that arc property, this inside angle equals the outside of my arc. So this is true. We have to find three true statements. Okay, angle SEA. So SEA again, angle SEA is going to equal 25 degrees because of that arc property that I just stated. So yes, that one's true. And then measure of RS, that's from here to here. So it says a measure of RS is 130 degrees. It's not true because only OS is 130 degrees. So I'd say no. Measure of AE right here is equal to 155. Let's see, because this is a whole 180, right? So 180 minus, let's see. I think this one would be equal to, because these angles would be congruent, so this would be 25. So I think this arc length would also be 25 degrees. So 180 minus 25 equals 155. I would say this one is true. And let's just check this one and make sure it's false. ENR equals 50 degrees. ENR equals 50 degrees. That's false because it would also equal 25 degrees because of that property. So the answers are going to be B, D, and E. Okay. Now let's look at 17. 17 is really hard. If anybody finds another way to do 17, put it down in the comments, but I'll show you the way that I kind of did it. Okay, choose the radian measure of an arc between two consecutive vertices of an inscribed regular heptagon, rounded to the nearest thousandths. Okay, so I drew a heptagon down here. Okay, and I'll walk you through what I kind of did. So when we're sitting there looking at a heptagon and we want to find the arc length between two consecutive vertices, it's talking about finding something like this kind of arc length right here. All right. So what I do know is the sum of the interior angles of a heptagon are 90 degrees, okay, or pi, because they want these in radians. Now to turn 900 degrees into a radian, I have to multiply it by pi over 180, okay? And that result is 5 pi. If you want me to do a video on how to turn radians into degrees and degrees into radians, put something in the comments. I have no problem doing that. All right. Then I know to give my answer, I have to divide what I found up here, my 5 pi, by the number of sides, 7. Okay. When I do this, I am going to get the decimal 5 times pi. It's going to be 2.24399. Right? I did not get, I got close to C, but I don't believe C is the answer. So I picked E. But again, like I said, if anybody else did this differently, put it down in the comments, would appreciate it. Okay? So now let's look at 18. Choose the equation of a circle with a diameter that has endpoints -2 and 2 and 3 and 2. So for this one, we're going to use the midpoint formula, and let me just show you why. So imagine we have a circle like this, and I have 2 endpoints on my diameter. If I want to sit there and find the center, because remember, the center sits there and gives me the H and the K in my formula for a circle, then I need to find the midpoint of those 2 points, okay? And that's exactly why we're using the midpoint formula. All right, so let me write down the midpoint formula. So M is going to equal x sub 1 plus y, or x sub 2, and that's divided by 2. And then y sub 1 plus y sub 2 divided by 2. Okay. And now let's go ahead and plug in our points for that. Plug in our points. I'm just plugging in my x's, -1 plus 3. And then that's divided by 2. And then I have 2 plus 2. And then that's divided by 2. Right? And then keep on going. So -1 plus 3, that's going to be positive 2 divided by 2. Then 2 plus 2, that's 4 divided by 2. And that's just going to be 1 and 2, 4 divided by 2. Okay. That's my center that I need for my formula. And we're just going to plug this in. Oops. Sorry. And we're just going to plug this into our parent function, which is of a circle, which is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. All right, and I'm just going to plug in, because remember, my x is my h, my y is my k. So I have x minus 1 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals r squared. And to find our radius, what we can do is just take one of the points that they gave us and just plug it back in here and solve for r squared, okay? And I'll show you what that looks like right now. So I'll pick this point, 2, 3, and 2. So I have 3, because my x is 3 and the point that I picked, minus 1 squared, just substituting in my point, and then plus 2 minus 2 squared, and that's going to equal r squared, okay? 3 minus 2 is going to be 2. 2 squared is 4. 2 minus 2 is 0. 0 squared is 0. Equals r squared. All right, so r squared is usually at the end and it equals 4. So our answer is actually going to be A, okay? X squared minus 1 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals r squared, which is 4. Exactly that one, okay? If you have any questions, leave a comment and I will answer it. So let's go ahead and look at these last two, 19 and 20. So for 19 and 20, we are going to be using completing the square. If you are not comfortable with completing the square, look up some videos on that. Or if you want me to make a video on it, just leave a comment. I have no problem doing it. But you have to know how to complete the square to do 19 and 20. Okay? So for 19, the equation of a circle with center -2 and 4 and a radius of 5 can be expressed in the form x squared plus y squared plus ax plus by plus c equals 0, where a, b, and c are integers. Choose the only value that could appear in the form of the equation for the above circle. So let's go ahead and write this in the form that we already know, and this is just the standard form of a circle, okay? So in the form we already know, it's going to be x plus 2, because that's a negative right there, squared, and a negative plus a negative times a negative makes a positive, and then plus y minus 4. And I'm just plugging in what they gave me into my form that we're like more familiar with. And then 5, and a radius of 5 squared. Okay. So we just need to find what a or b would be. So in standard form that they have, usually your first step is you want to write all your like terms together, right? Plus ax plus yx squared or y squared plus by plus c equals 0. Okay. And usually our next step is we take this a divided by 2 and square it. And we take this b divided by 2 and square it, but we don't know what that a and b is going to be. But when we do that, we know that our a is going to be, basically we're going to get what this is squared, right? So that -2, I think squared would be like a -4. And if I had this squared, I would say the b would be a positive 16, okay? I just did that because the sign right here is going to be a negative, okay? Because you always write the opposite when it's negative. So if it was my b, I knew it was going to be a 16. All right. Because here, let me see if I can do that one. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and then 2 squared. Yeah, because it would be 2 squared. So I would get 2 in here. And whatever squared, it would be that. All right. And then 16 divided by 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Be 8. So b would be 8, but it'd be positive 8. Okay, because it's whatever you get in here for them. So that's going to be A. Okay. I know it's like this one's a little bit confusing if you don't know completing the square. Okay. So if you get stuck on this one, 19, let me know and I can explain it a little bit more. All right, for 20, the equation of a certain circle with a radius of 5 can be expressed in the form x squared plus y squared plus ax plus by equals 0, where a and b are integers. Select two possible sets of value for the coefficients a and b that can appear in the equation for the circle. So for this one, again, with completing the square, I'll sit there and write it out. The steps would be, again, to sit there and make sure you group up your x squared and your ax. And then plus your y squared and your by. Okay, so now here's the trick. Whatever you sit there and when you group them, okay, so this will be x, and then that will be a square right here because you're going to sit there and group them when you're completing the square. So whatever you add in here, you have to add over here. Okay, again, whatever you add in here, you have to add over here. And since they sat there and said our radius is 5, all right, so we want something that can give us 5. 16 divided by 2 squared. No. Let's see. So, like I did before, actually, I want to do this. Sorry. This will help. Like I did before, I want to find my A divided by, that's what I want to do, 2 squared, and my B divided by 2, because this is part of completing the square, squared. And whatever these results are, I sit there and put in my two binomials, okay? And whatever I put in here and I add in here, I have to add over here as well, okay? But I get my results by sitting there taking my A and dividing by 2, and my B dividing by 2 and squaring them. So we need to sit there and see which ones are going to sit there and get it so we can have a radius of 5, okay? So let's start with A. So I have 0 divided by 2 is 0 and 0. So 0. So I add 0 to the other side. That's fine. And then 10 divided by 2, that's going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 5. 5 squared. Oh, that's 5. That's 25. But the square root of 25 is 5. I believe the answer is going to be E. Okay. That one was a tricky one because we're kind of playing around with completing the square and not actually doing it. So this one takes a lot of strategic thinking. All right. And again, if you want me to explain 20 more, leave in the comments. I can explain a little bit more. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you for watching my channel. If you need any math help, just hit me up. Thanks.